First and foremost, welcome everyone. I'm really happy to be here, and it's always very interesting to hear all of these other perspectives. But just a little bit about me. I am a coordinator for the Outreach and Technical Assistance Network. We are a grant-funded state leadership project in California, and we provide assistance to adult education schools here in the state. Most of our adult education schools are affiliated with a K-12 district, and many of them are also in non-credit programs and community colleges. So we have a really diverse audience in terms of our teachers and where they come from. Are they at a community college? Are they somewhere else? So what my session is about today is to really help you understand a little bit about why accessibility does play a key part in equity and access for our learners. And adult education can be a little bit different because in many of our schools, this is not a topic that comes to the fore because adults do not have to declare if they have an accommodation need. Some of them are very vocal, which is good. Others are not. And sometimes that just means a change in mindset. So why is accessibility so important, and how that lends itself to an equity issue as well? So I just want to go through some basic topics today. I was telling the group earlier, Jamie and everyone, that I do this session in 3 different formats now, typically in 3 hours, then in 1.5 hours, and now I've just had to chop it down a little smaller. So please be aware there are many materials in the notes that I want you to be aware of, and between the hosts and folks helping here, we'll try to get some of those posted so you can take a look at them. I am a true believer in having an awareness of what your population may have in terms of a disability, whether self-declared or not. And then I'm one of those people, I want to teach you how to fish. Okay, I want to teach you some of the tools that can get you started on this journey with accessibility. And I want you to be careful. I am going to be product specific today. I am going to be dealing with Microsoft tools. Microsoft is established itself as a world leader in providing accessibility tools to help everyone create content and materials that are fully accessible by anyone that is using assistive technology, or simply perhaps just needs glasses to be able to see what is on the screen. So some of my first items here is really about some of the statistics. And a lot of times we don't pay attention to them, but the World Health Organization is telling us that there's over 1 billion people on this planet that have some type of disability. And within the United States, that's over 61 million. That's 1 in 4. That's 1 in 4. So as you take a look at those people around you, whenever we can get back to a classroom, right? Take a look at those students that you have in your classroom. How many of them have some kind of disability? And there's lots of definitions. I'm not going to go into all of those details, but many times they can be fully permanent, or they could be temporary. Somebody broke their leg and they're hobbling around with crutches. Well, they have a temporary disability and they need a little help. Or maybe they had to have surgery. You kind of get the idea. Maybe, like me, I need some assistive tools because my vision, you know, that over a certain point in your life where your vision is, you know what I mean. So even though there's lots of things that are accommodating to me, not all students are going to come to you and say, oh, this is, I can't see this. They're going to want those tools available to help them do what they need to do. Now, within California, I'm going to show you this quick image of California because it's just a snapshot. And I do want you to know that the CDC does have a page, and I'm going to go ahead and post it here in the chat, that you can look for your state and see what these disability statistics are in your state. Now, this was just recently updated in 2019, and this particular image was just taken from that site for California. And as I said, it's basically 1 in 4 people have some form of disability, whether it's from mobility, whether it's vision, whether it's independent living. You can see this chart and how it defines those disabilities. Your state has them as well. might be higher, might be lower. But it is a good awareness tool, even for your teachers and your administrators, to understand that we have a population that we need to be aware of, and we're not always doing that. And so this is why this has become much more of a at the forefront in California, I think. I'm one of those people that have been on this bandwagon for quite some time, of making sure that our teachers understand how they can provide materials. Not only is it because of the statistics, because that's always there, that's changing all the time, but also because it's the law. Okay, it's the right thing to do. We've had laws on the books for a long time in different formats. I'm not a lawyer, okay? I'm not going to go through all of these different laws, but many of them you probably have heard about. Whether it's the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, maybe you've heard something about this thing called WCAG, or Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. If you are someone that deals with anything in regards to posting on a website, those rules come into effect. Maybe you've heard of IDEA, the Individuals with Disability Education Act, that has much more specific requirements regarding how materials are accessible to our learners in education. Now, granted, it leans toward the K-12 side, but it has great implications for all of education, to ensure that we provide these means and ways that our learners have access to that education. And I know sometimes there's a concern about, well, I can't do this, and I'm going to leave this as very broad. And sometimes it's just important for teachers to understand they need to be able to provide an equivalent experience. Now, I have lots of teachers that I work with in California that they absolutely love multimedia and video, and they'll produce things, or they'll do searches online. They will go out and they will find materials and information that they want to present to their class, but they don't have that one little kind of parrot on their shoulder saying, be aware, can all of your students participate with this material? What can you do to provide them with that equivalent experience? And sometimes it's as simple as a transcript, a piece of text that they can use assistive technology or magnification or something that helps them to receive and be able to participate with that material in an online environment. So these laws are things that we need to be aware of, but we don't have to be a lawyer. It's just, we all have these guidelines that we can use, and there's many more resources that you can look at. In the notes of this slide, I have the guidelines for WCAG, because us at OTAN, we are very cognizant about creating and maintaining a website that's fully accessible by all different types of assistive technology, as well as by different types of devices. A lot of times that gets overlooked, that if someone goes to a website on their mobile phone, is it adaptive? Does it change in terms of sizing, etc.? And does it have tools available for learners to be able to use on that website? Also, in using online curriculum, how many organizations have a set policy, either through their IT department or their purchasing department, that ensures that the software that you're purchasing for use with learners is meeting these rules, to ensure that the materials that teachers create and post are fully accessible. They have the tools in place to do so. So there's more on notes and law for those of you that like to geek out and learn more about these different pieces of law and how they work. But just remember, although it's the law, more so in terms of our concerns about equity and equality and access, it's the right thing to do. And we have to kind of adopt this mindset that says, moving forward, this is something I deal with a lot with teachers, because if I have a veteran teacher of 10, 15, 20 years, they panic because they're like, oh my gosh, I have lesson plans and materials that go back a decade. I can't do all of this. Don't. Start from today. Start from the moment of awareness that this is something that needs to be done. And let's get you some tools and resources and assistance to help you make sure that anything you create into the future is as compliant and as accessible as possible. Okay, so not only is it the law, right? We have some resources. There's help out there. These are some of my favorites, okay? And I had to cull the list down a little bit, but I really like the National Center on Accessible Educational Materials. They are chock-a-block full of resources, courses, online materials, demonstrations, anything that can help you as an administrator inform and provide assistance to teachers, whether you're a teacher and understanding, okay, what does it really mean to have accessible educational materials? What does that look like? Another favorite of mine, which is really across the board, way beyond education, is the universal design for learning. That whole framework, that whole mindset of how do we design? We all benefit from universal design. And I'll ask a couple of questions that I've used many times before. How many of you use an escalator at the airport? I do, okay, but I am fully capable of walking up those stairs. I just have the choice, and now I could go up the escalator. Do moms with carriages use an elevator and escalator because it's harder to get upstairs? Yes. Do you use curb cuts in sidewalks because it's easier for you to walk down an easy grade and maybe instead of stepping off of a 9-inch curb? Those are all universal design for all people to use, whether they have a disability or not. We're designing for really good use of whatever we need to do. So these are some basic pieces that you can use and help you understand why these are, this is a good soapbox to stand on, for lack of a better word here, because all of them lend itself into building a community of wanting to be more accessible. And that also means inherently more equitable, right? Everybody has the opportunity to learn if materials are created in the best way possible. So this is the fishing part. I want to show you, and if I can't do it during this session right now, I'll show you in the breakout room of really teaching you how to fish. I want to add some tackle to your teaching tackle box that can help you move forward with making sure that your materials that you create, that you share, have some great accessibility tools. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can do this because I want folks to understand why this is important. So we're going to pretend for a minute that we are someone that needs to use a screen reader. Now, this is supposed to be linked in the presentation, but I'm hoping if I switch this over, somebody tell me, can you see my YouTube page?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to try to play this here. And oh, let me make sure I turned on my audio. Let me make sure here. Hold on. Sometimes I forget that part. Oh, just a second, folks. I apologize. Uh-oh. All right, let's see if we can hear it. Can you hear it?
No.
No. Hold on. Oh, I miss it, guys. So sorry. Hold on. Where is my audio? Share.
If you check the, if you click the share button again, it should give you the option to share audio.
I got it. Here we go.
No one with a disability that will be receiving their
Hear it?
content. There are no guarantees.
Yes.
Documents are often shared among others. You don't want an inaccessible document attributed to your name or your company. Additionally, many accessibility features actually benefit and improve the reading experience for everyone. Today we want to simulate what someone who uses a specific type of assistive technology, a screen reader, encounters when they access a poorly structured document. Then we'll show you what their experience is like once the document has been made accessible. Keep in mind that screen readers are just one type of assistive technology. There are many different types of disabilities and subsequently many varying technologies for people to use and experience content. In this video, Cami, one of our Section 508 specialists, is going to walk you through 2 scenarios to demonstrate the impact of creating accessible materials.
First, take a look at this PDF. We have colored large text, graphics, a process flow, lists, and link text. What else do you see? Now we're going to simulate using a screen reader by covering up the document. This is how someone using a screen reader would experience it.
Interacting with kids. Kids can be of any age. Sing a song. All the king's horses and all the king's men could put Humpty together again. Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, semicolon. Have a treat. Select a graphic item. Bullet French graphic fries. Bullet ice graphic cream. Enjoy the graphic flavor. Travel to graphic McDonald's. Activities and play. Try some of these, colon. Play a board game. Make a paper plate mask. Go to the park. Send us an email to get more great ideas. Graphiclogo.jpg.
Was that what you expected to hear? Was all the content read? Clearly, this page was not created in an accessible manner. Now let's listen to how the screen reader interprets the content now that we've remediated the document.
Graphic ABC interactive logo. Heading level 1 interacting with kids. Kids can be of any age. Heading level 2 sing a song. Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall, semicolon. All the king's horses and all the king's men could put Humpty together again. Heading level 2 have a treat. Graphic acquiring a treat process. See next page for full description. Heading level 2 activities and play. Try some of these, colon. List of 3 items. Start bullet, play a board game. Start bullet, make a paper plate mask. Start bullet, go to the park. List end. Send us an link email to get more great ideas.
You should have noticed that the screen reader said heading before the colored phrases. The graphic had a meaningful description and was read in the proper order at the top of the page. The column content was read in the proper order. There was a list that included the number of total items. A link was indicated so that we can activate it with the keyboard. And our process flow had a brief description but indicated that there's a long description available. So that you can review one method of handling complex graphics, we're going to show you one example of how to handle the graphic in this document.
Heading level 2 acquiring a treat process. List of 3 items. 1. Travel to McDonald's. 2. Select an item. List of 2 items. Nesting level 1. A. French fries. B. Ice cream. List end. Nesting level 1. 3. Enjoy the flavor.
A numbered list structure was used to show order, and a sublist helps identify the hierarchy of the content. Hopefully you can see how important it is to structure your content.
Okay. Are we good with that? Did you learn anything a little bit with that? Just so you know, screen readers can be completely customized by the user. So I have a lot of folks that say, well, why would you listen to all of the punctuation? And that is a choice on how people create their materials and or how they interact with content. They can control that. And I don't know if anybody has ever experienced this with anybody, but individuals who are really good at using assistive devices and assistive text, they can swing through this material at 3 times the speed that most of us can. So it's really, it is something that when you get a chance to work with someone who either has a vision disability or even a hearing disability, of how they use that assistive technology can be really mind-opening of how they interact with materials. So this last little bit, because I don't have very much time left, is just to talk again about what is available in Microsoft's suite of applications. Now, it really is doing an excellent job of providing a tool, and it's called, surprisingly enough, the Accessibility Checker. And what it does is it allows for both teachers to create accessible documents, but also it allows learners to understand and use an accessibility checker to ensure anything that they create is also fully accessible. Now, what's nice about this tool, and it's a tool, it's not an end-all be-all panacea, It's a tool. It will give you what are considered errors, which really need to be corrected. That means that there would be an issue with assistive technology getting through the materials. Warnings, okay, which means, oh, you know, it's not too bad, but you might want to consider making a change, or you might want to make sure that you check something that the warning indicates. And the last one is tips. And Microsoft is very good about being able to say, well, you know, you might want to try this instead. Okay, so although it does a lot, it doesn't do anything, okay, or everything, I should say. It doesn't do everything. So you need to learn how to use the tool. And this is typically in, I'll use the two most prominent, Microsoft Word and Microsoft PowerPoint. Microsoft Word has a whole series of styles and other reference fields that you can use to help make sure that a screen reader can navigate quickly through your document. If you don't use styles, or you're the type of person that, you know, you'll select text and you'll make it 18 point and you'll make it bold or italic, you think visually it's easier to see, but a screen reader doesn't care about 18 point and bold and italic. A screen reader will want to see, is that heading 1, heading 2, or heading 3? And that's what allows someone using a screen reader to jump quickly to the materials that they want to learn about. You don't have to use them, and Microsoft Word will tell you, yes, anybody with a disability will be able to get through your document. But if you have a 50-page report and you haven't used styles, the person using assistive technology has to basically start at the beginning and listen to or scroll through the entire document. Whereas when you use these tools called styles in Microsoft Word, they can navigate between them. The equivalent of that in PowerPoint are those little placeholders where it says title and, or, you know, click here for bullets and whatnot. Those are working in that same order in terms of allowing a screen reader to move from the title of a slide to the content of the slide to the images on the slide and maybe the page number, etc. Those placeholders are very important for screen readers to be able to navigate through a PowerPoint presentation quickly. Okay. Yes, and Rachel, the Google isn't quite there yet in getting everything done. There are some extensions that have some great promise, but they're not there. And also, some of those extensions cost money, which at least here in California, our adult education teachers, you know, we don't have a whole lot of money. So we want to find those tools that are free or low cost or provided by our districts, etc. So in the breakout, I'm happy to show you how this works. Normally, I do a full demonstration and I have practice documents to make sure everybody can do this. Happy to share those with you if you like. But I can definitely tell you that Microsoft is your friend when it comes to doing accessibility. Now, just a couple of things for part of that mindset. And this is especially true when you're creating documents and or PowerPoint presentations. Always check them for accessibility. Microsoft makes it easy because it has an accessibility checker. One thing it's not really good to look at, and it's not really good at doing, is checking for something called color contrast. Color contrast is really important for people who have visual disabilities. And there's a great tool out here called the Color Contrast Checker, and I can put that link in the chat, that allows you to test your documents or test your color scheme in your documents or your PowerPoint presentation to make sure it meets those accessibility requirements. So we had this massive spray of information here. I am happy to answer questions. I will turn it back over to Jamie, and if anybody has anything in particular I can try to clarify, I will do so.